Hello. So this is episode 10.4. So I continue to some of my memories from age 10. So the one big between 9 and 10 because I go by school year actually. So the one big thing I remember happened that year is Asiad or Asian Games that happened in New Delhi. So there was a big buzz. This was just around the time when India was changing. We were more connected. People watched the news more. The roads were paved. People now has had transition from the middle class families. Earlier they used to only have bicycles, but now they had like scooters or motorbikes, and you could see more cars on the street. Not as many as now, but definitely it was earlier. It was only like a handful. You could see more cars on the street. People started like shopping a little bit more, not so much. They did not still start eating out, but they started shopping a little bit more for festivals instead of once a year. So all those changes were happening. So along with that, this Asian Games, or it was called Asiad, it was a big deal. So athletes from all over Asia were participating, and of course, at the end of it, China I think won the most medals. But the opening ceremony was a big deal. And there was a song that was composed by somebody like pretty famous, and I still remember the song. It was called Swagatam Shubha Swagatam Swagatam Shubha Swagatam, like that. We were all like mesmerized. You know why? Because since that event, we also started getting the Doordarshan from national TV from Delhi. Until then, all the way from 77 to 82, only the regional channel was being telecast, and not many people had TV. Very, very, very handful of people had the TV. But as during Asia, is when a lot of people went and bought TVs. So the one TV company, manufacturing company that was very popular in that area in Hyderabad was called ECIL, and they used to make something called ECTV. I don't know what EC stands for, but everybody had an ECTV, and a lot of people bought TV, and that's when around that time, around 82, is when TV actually became like a common middle class people's household. Everybody had a TV around that time. By everybody, I mean typical middle class people. Until then, many didn't have TVs. So it was all a very exciting world because, of course, we got all the I was about to say channels, but actually there was only one channel. We started getting the national shows, and so now we used to now get TV like every day in the evening, of course, from 7 p.m. But earlier, 7 to 8-ish, 7 to 8, there used to be regional telecast, and 8 o'clock it used to switch to national TV. And then we started getting TV Sunday mornings, and Saturday afternoon, 1 hour, we used to have TV again. It was a lot of fun. Everybody remembers those shows, and everybody, because there was only one channel, so the whole family used to watch. So it was a very big bonding opportunity for the family also. So that happened, and there was this serial in which used to which used to come around that time on Doordarshan, the national TV that used to be telecast to us as well. It was called Hum Log. There was another serial later called Bunyad, but that was later. So we used to all like watch it, and interestingly, a couple of the actors who played in Hum Log, I think Seema, I don't remember her last name, and her husband, they both are still acting, and they're pretty famous character actors in a lot of the movies. I think the most recent movie uh, was the Gangubai Kathiawadi. She acted as the madam in the brothel. So they're still acting. Many of those people are still acting. So my mother used to love that show. As I said, my mom was not much into like movies or stuff, but many TV shows she liked. And this one she really liked. And she actually liked the character of the oldest child. There were three girls and two boys. And we all used to watch that show a lot. Um, Around this time, what happened was, like I told you, in episode 9, I fell sick, terribly sick. And when felt terribly sick, just before at the beginning of episode 9, I said I had my own room, and that was my biggest dream. So I had that room for 4 or 5 months. But when I fell sick, I lost that room. They moved me downstairs to take care of me, and now I got the room back again. So I was really excited. But then again, I had the biggest disappointment. I had that room for 4 or 5 months. Then my mother felt that she needed, as she was kind of ramping up on her PhD thesis, like the topic, etc., research, she wanted a quiet place to study. Because the main area of the home, the downstairs, there was too much going on. So we moved the kitchen upstairs and her bedroom upstairs. She thought she had a study table in her bedroom for the longest time, but it wasn't working out. So she wanted a quiet place to study. So I had to give up my room again. Again, I only had it for 4 or 5 months. And then moved to the common area. So that was the story of my life regarding this room. Every year there was a disappointment. I used to get it, then I used to lose it. I used to get it, I used to lose it. I didn't ever have that room that I always wanted. So anyways, I lost that room. So that was fine. And just around this time, my youngest Pinny, like I told you, I was pretty attached to her, very attached to her actually. We used to spend a lot of time together. So around this time, her husband called her to US and sent the ticket and all, and she left for USA. So now, after she left for USA, another change that happened is my sister also, they didn't send her so much to my Amama's house anymore. For a brief period of time, she started going to a creche. Creche is like a nursery school. She was still very like small baby, but like I said, she was extremely advanced for her age. So she used to be able to talk and walk and all of that as if she was a 4-year-old. She was very advanced for her age. So around this time, a couple of pretty scary incidents happened with me. So the one was in school in fifth grade. I once had a really bad stomachache. I was worried nobody will believe me because in fourth grade I was to like fake stomachache a lot. But actually they believed me and I was sent home. So I had that. It was only once, but later on, many years later, I realized it was lactose intolerance. That was because I kept getting that all my life. Until in my 30s, I realized I was severely lactose intolerant. But that was not the scary incident. I just remembered that. But a couple of scary incidents happened. So in fifth grade, I picked back up in academics. I was doing very well. I did not get first rank, but I used to get second and third rank. So I was doing exceptionally well in academics. So they had this system where in school where they wanted the clevers to help out the moddus. Like I said, they had this these terms and these stereotypical terms for coined for the first 10 rankers. So they used to keep like an intelligent kid, academically strong kid, uh, per each bench, and three extremely weak kids or weaker kids, academically weaker kids in the same bench, so that they can learn and from the stronger kid, so that the stronger, academically strong kid, which was me, could mentor the weak kids. So I had a different friend called Harita, and I initially when we opened the school, Lakshmi wanted to sit next to me. I wanted to sit next to Harita, but and maybe we sat together for a month or so, or a few weeks or so. But later on, they reshuffled us after the first unit test. They saw who was placed where academically, and it was me and it was three kids who were not academically strong next to me. So there was one kid next to me. Her name was Bhavani. I won't tell the full name because people can identify who she is. So, but anyway, her name was Bhavani. Her writing was very, very shabby. She was also very, very shabby. She used to like, there used to be drool coming out of her mouth all the time, and her hair was all like so shabby, and she was like very, very haphazard. Her writing was very shabby, but so I used to kind of mentor her. So over a period of time, we became pretty close because I never distinguished. I didn't like these labels like, smart kids, stupid kids. I didn't like these labels. So I was very friendly with whoever sat next to me. I never distinguished. So I became very, very close friends. And because we became close friends, there are some days that I used to walk with her back home. The days that my sister wasn't at my mama's, my parents used to tell me, and very often I used to walk with her back home. So she for partial way, and then she would there would be a bifurcation or where she would go to her place, and I would come to my house. So partially, there was a common route where we used to walk back home. So after that, we used to part, like there was a Y junction, and she would go one side of the Y, and I'd go to the one side of the Y, the other side of the Y. And so one day suddenly, not she starts pestering me, like she starts saying, there was a Saturday, okay? So Saturday we used to have half days, and my parents used to come home in the evening. So, if you didn't go home, her parents were also working, but they were like middle class parents. They were not working in high positions like my parents. My parents were pretty well placed. They were, my mom was a lecturer in a college. My dad has a very, very good, private job. And her parents were, I think, her mom was an admin, like a clerk or something in a garment office, and her dad was also something, an employee somewhere. So, but they used to both work. So what happened is Saturdays when you go home, like for kids who had working parents, you used to be left, like for me, I had my Bama. So, and my Bama never really intruded. She was there like a safety thing, to give us lunch and to generally take care of us. But, and some of these kids used to be left at, grandparents' homes, or like how me and my sister were also left at my grandparents' home. So we were very lucky that we had the absolute positive, very best experience, at least of my childhood, was the years that I spent with my uncles and aunts and amama and tataya and with my bama. I learned so much. My childhood was very happy and very enriching also at the same time. But there is this other side of it where not all children may be very lucky. Some grandparents may be like irritable, and some of them may be uncles or aunts. So they used to leave their kids. She also used to be left at some uncle's place or grandparents' place. So what was weird was she started saying, let's go for a movie after college and after school on a Saturday, and we'll be home by the time our parents come home. Nobody will know. This was like the scariest thought for me, because actually children didn't go to movies. Like it was very unsafe or unheard of for kids that age, like to 9, we were 9ish, between 9 and 10, to go to movies by themselves. And um and then uh, uh, and also the thought of, not telling the parents and going to a movie, but it was like a scary thought. But by this time and all my life, I've struggled with being a pushover. Yeah, I don't look like a pushover at all, but I am. So, and to my detriment, many, many, many times to my detriment. So I wanted to say no. My mind said no, but no did not come out of my mouth. Always I would say, yeah, 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 we'll go, but I would delay it. Then she said, okay. Like once I said, yeah, yeah, she was pushy, pushy, pushy. So um, she she said, bring 50 paise with you. That's the movie ticket. And my parents never sat in the front benches and all that. Like 50 paise was literally like in the matinee show, like the very, very like cheapest row. My parents always sat in the dress circle in the balcony in the highest one. And back then that was 3 rupees 50 paise, like the highest this thing. Then eventually it became 4, 5, 10. Like that was all more in my high school. But in my middle school, it was around 350, 375, like that. And the matinee was even cheaper. It was 250 or something like that. And the lowest, cheapest thing was 50 paise. So she says, bring it. And I didn't bring it, but I always happened to have at least 50 paise with me. 2 rupees 50 paise was my standard. I always had it with me because my parents gave it to me always 2 rupees 50 paise, so that I could take a rickshaw home if I wanted to. So that I always had in my pocket. So Saturday came. I was hoping she won't raise this issue, but she did. And she said, do you have 50 paise? I said, I tried to lie saying no, but I had it, so I said yes. No just wouldn't come out of my mouth. And then we started walking. And then as we started walking, normally we would walk up until that Y junction, and she'd go one way and I'd come home. We would part ways at that Y junction. But now she said we'll go to a movie. And I thought, I didn't know how to get out of it. So I thought maybe I'll just go. Then she's told me the strangest thing. She said, oh, actually my uncle will meet us at the movie theater. My uncle takes me to these movies often. And he said, bring your friend also. And so this time I'm taking you. And then she goes, this movie, don't be scared. It's a science movie. It's called Secrets of Sex and Birth, and they will show like childbirth and how babies are born. But it's a science movie, and well, my uncle will be there to explain everything to us. This seemed so fishy back then. Now, of course, as a grown up, I know what this whole thing is. But I didn't know as a child, but I definitely knew that it was something very fishy. And remember in the last episode, I said my Bhanupini told me about all these bad people that exist in the world that cheat people and trick them and kidnap people and lie to them. How grown-ups and especially grown men are like so many bad people out there in the world. That's what made me think this is fishy. Otherwise, as a child, I wouldn't have maybe known. Maybe I would have been enticed by the thing. So I got very, 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 very scared. And then I started saying, oh, actually, I have to go home. I have to do this. But she wouldn't take no for an answer. And then at the Y junction, I wanted to go to my home, and she wouldn't take no for an answer, and I also couldn't be very vociferous. So I went with her, and then I started getting scared. I didn't want to go to this movie and meet this strange man, like, and seeing this science movie, how babies are born. It looks so scary. And I was like, what if this guy kills us, or what if this guy kidnaps us? Because I actually, as a grown person, I know what this guy was up to, but I did not understand. But I definitely knew there was something very strange, and it was not a safe situation for me. So I started saying, I'll go home, I'll go home. And then this girl, I think she promised her uncle that she would bring me. She just grabbed my bag and she just wouldn't give it to me. She said, no, you have to, if you want your bag, you have to come with me. Then I got very scared. I said, no, I have to go home. Then she took away my bag. She said, I won't give you your bag, so now you have to come with me. Then I said, no, I don't want to go home. Then she says, okay, at least come till the movie theater, and then I'll give you back my bag so that I tell my uncle that I did bring you. I got very scared. So I thought, okay, if I can explain to my parents. That way my parents were very understanding. I knew that they would not scold me if I lost the bag. Okay, so I said, okay, if I lose the bag, I lose the bag. I don't want to go to this uncle. I don't want to go to this strange movie at the middle. It was very fishy scenario. So I just turned around and I said, okay, you keep the bag. And I started running from there. Then she got nervous that I would tell somebody. Then she ran behind me, and she gave me the bag. And she said, okay, take your bag, but I won't speak to you ever again. I said, okay. And then I took the bag. But I was lost because I was already taken that Y junction. I was so lost. I did not know where I was. Because my home was about 3-4 miles from the school, and while walking. So at that Y junction was after 1 mile. Then I had to walk around 3 miles to my home. But I didn't take the Y junction. I took her section of the Y junction, and I had walked a mile towards her section. So I had no clue where I was in the city. I had walked a whole mile, like about 20-25 minutes I had walked. And I was only 10. I had no idea where I was in the city. I just knew I had to get away from her. So it was a very scary situation. So I was all alone because she left me there and she went away. And I did not know the locality. But luckily I knew my home address. And so I thought, if I hail a rickshaw person, instead of asking some other stranger an address, he offers that public service. He'll drop me home. So I hailed a rickshaw. And I said, I have to go to this address. But I didn't want to show that I was lost. Because if I show that I was lost, I didn't know how the rickshaw person, what kind of person he is. But I hail somebody, but I was so scared that this rickshaw person will take me somewhere. It was the scariest situation for me, scariest. I shudder even when I think about it, because I was in a part of the city I did not know how to get home. And I'd hailed a rickshaw person on my own. Until then, the only rickshaw I sat in was somebody that my parents had hired. It was a known person, right? So it was not some random rickshaw on the street. And even if it was a random rickshaw, I knew the way, so I would know if he'd take me somewhere else. So I just told the rickshaw, I have to go here. I said, how much will you charge? He said 2 rupees 75 paise. I only had 2 rupees 50 paise with me. But I took a chance. I had to get out of there. So, because what if that girl came back with her uncle or whatever? So I took a chance. I told the rickshaw fellow, I'll come. I thought somebody will give me 25 paise when I reach home. And then I was so alert. I was watching where he's taking me, because he was taking me to what if he takes me away somewhere? because I didn't recognize any of these streets. Was in a completely alien, you know, uh, I didn't know where I was at all. Um, so as he was driving me, I was so nervous. Luckily, by that time, my Bama had taught me. My Bama had a little Hanuman Chalisa book, and she used to make me recite it at night every day. My Bama and I used to recite it together. So I just started reciting Hanuman Chalisa in my head. But it was very, very scary. And I just started watching. And I kept, the rickshaws used to have the top up or down. He said, "Do you want top up or down?" I wanted the top down because what if he like kidnaps me and takes me somewhere? So I kept the top down and I kept reciting the Hanuman Chalisa. And then finally, after about 10 minutes, I started sort of getting familiar with, I started seeing familiar streets and familiar autos, and then we reached home. When we reached home, I asked my Bama if she had any money. She used to have some reserves, 10 paise, 5 paise, this thing. So we could scrape together 25 paise. We could scrape together 20 paise. And then I asked the neighboring auntie 5 paise, and I gave the rickshaw fellow 275. But scary thing. But I'm glad I got out of it. The other similar incident, again, it happened in the same year, is one evening, very similar incident. One evening, I was at my mama's home, and there used to be a little green shop around the corner of the lane, and they used to sell comic books and small snacks and candy and all that. So whenever an Amar Chitra Katha, new Amar Chitra Katha, remember I said like I was a vociferous reader. I probably read every single Amar Chitra Katha that was ever published until I left India. I did, I'm sure of it. so when new Amar Chitra Kathas used to be published, which was a comic book, he used to hang it up to attract. So on my way home, I used to always check it out. And as soon as I saw a new one, I would save money and I'd go and buy it and I would read it at my Amma's house. So similarly, I saved money. My tataya used to give me, my parents used to give me 2 rupees, but the Amar Chitrakatha by then was 250. So my tataya used to give me 50 paise every time. He used to say like, if you want to buy, you get 2 rupees, I'll give you 50 paise. So I took 50 paise from my grandfather, my tataya, and I started. It was just around the corner towards the end of the lane. I walked till the end of the lane. I just turned the corner. As soon as I turned the corner, a young man about like 21, 22 on a bicycle came and asked me, "Excuse me, do you know where the Ganesha temple is or whatever?" I knew where it was. So I said, "Yeah, go straight and turn left and, it's there." Then he said, "Oh, can you show it to me? Can you walk me there?" And again, I had my blink eyes. I said yes, because I always wanted to be helpful. I could never say no. Even now, the instinctively yes only comes out of my mouth. No doesn't come out of my mouth. You have to be very careful. It could be very detrimental. So I started walking with him. But this was around, 7 p.m. ish. Suddenly it became, as soon as we turned into the lane, it became dark. It not pitch dark, but pretty dark. And people back then were crazy about TV with this Asia, and TV was new for everybody. They would, once TV started, they would all go indoors. It was a very bad habit. Nobody was on the street because only a certain set of time that TV was used to play. So there was nobody on the street. As strange as it is for Indian streets. So then when he turned around, he said, walking there, I felt a little unsafe, not completely, but I'll tell you when I felt totally unsafe. He asked me, "What's your dad's name?" So I said, "Purnaya." Then he said, "Oh, yeah, I know your dad. It's the one who just lives in that lane, right?" So basically, this guy had seen me coming out of that lane. And he was faking that he knew my parents to earn my trust. But I knew my parents didn't live there. My grandparents lived there. So I immediately knew I was in the wrong hands. And again, I did not know all in detail what he was up to. But because of my Banupini relaying all these stories, I knew about bad people, kidnappers, and all of that. So I immediately kind of instinctively knew that he was up to no good. But I didn't want to run away because he had a bicycle and there was nobody on the street, absolutely nobody. If I ran away, he would have caught up to me, and God knows what would have carried me away or whatever, I don't know. I was much younger, I was just a 10-year-old. So I said, somehow I have to fake it until I make it to the temple, and hopefully there'll be some people there. So I said, yeah, my dad lives there. And then he kept saying, are you sure? Why don't you just sit on the bike? I'll take you to the temple. Why are you walking? I was walking, and he was holding his bicycle and walking, big bicycle. So I was like, no matter, this is not the time to say yes, no matter what he does, because I was convinced that he was up to no good. I will not sit on the bike, no matter what he asked. He kept asking, why don't you sit on the bike? Your feet must be hurting. I said, no, I'll walk. Then finally we reached the temple, and I immediately, he said, my uncle is a pujari in the temple. So I figured in my mind, if his uncle is there, he's telling the truth. I'll give him benefit of doubt. But if he says my uncle is not there, then this guy is a liar. He's up to no good. He wants to do some harm to me. Again, I was too young to know what harm, but I knew he wanted to do harm. So then we went there, and I wanted to scope if any. Just to my bad luck, the temple was completely empty, because that day some Chitrahar or something was coming on TV. And back then people were crazy about TV. They would all go like magnets. So there were some three very old men, senior citizens, sitting and chatting in the front. So I said, okay, if anything happens to me, these are the three men I should come to, because there is nothing around here. I can't run on the street because that's completely dark. And I cannot run away from him because there's nothing on the street. There's nobody on the street, and I have to come to these old men. This is my only hope. So anyway, he went to the pujari, and he went to the temple, and he said, oh, my uncle is not here today. I knew he was lying. I knew I had to get away from him. I didn't know how. So then he said, then I started saying I have to go home. Then he said, oh, you're at a temple, it's wrong to go home. Let's do pradakshinas. And then we did one pradakshina, and we came to the front. Pradakshina is a circle around the temple, as you know. Then we did the second one, and we came to the front. I'm just scoping. Then we did the third one, and I thought, okay, this is the last one, we'll go to the front. But we never came to the front. At the back of the temple, he made me sit down there. And he said, let's just sit down for a temple, like, we should sit for some time. And I knew we should sit for some time before going. So I started getting very scared. I started whimpering. I knew I was in bad hands. I started crying. And I said, I really have to go home. My parents are waiting. I want to buy my comic book. I really want to go home. The comic book shop will close. Then he said, no, just sit for some time. Just sit. I said, no, I really want to go home. Then he knew that I was almost in tears. I had begun crying. So then he said, okay, I'll let you go home. But I'm like your brother, can you give me a kiss? Then I'm like, I really don't want to. Then he's like, can you kiss me here? I got the scare of my life. I started crying. He didn't even touch me, but I thought I was with a kidnapper. Again, as an older person, I knew what he was attempting to do, but I really thought I was with a kidnapper. I ran to the front, implemented my plan, went to the three old people, and they're like, what? And then I also remembered stories my Pinny used to tell me, because when kidnappers, in that one story, 47 Rojalu, the lady, the heroine, runs away from her husband. But her husband runs behind her and says, oh, she's just my sister, she's mental, so don't believe her. And he actually takes her back. So I thought this guy will say she's just mental and she's my sister and she'll take. So I went there and I preempted him saying anything like that, because I imagined that he would come and take me back. And I ran to them and I started crying and said, oh, that guy is not my brother. He's like, he wants to kidnap me. Oh my God. And then he ran away outside, and then he got on the bike and ran away before the old people, three old men ran behind him. Then poor things, the two of the old men, they came and dropped me off at my mama's house. They told them everything. I was delirious, I was hysterical, but they found out, and they found out nothing happened to me, but I was just in a scare. So my Kiran Moya gave me, my youngest Moya, he was a doctor, right? He gave me some sleeping medicine to calm me down, and I went to sleep and I woke up. But it was like a very, very traumatic incident for me. Eventually, like, I came home. After a few days, I told my mother, but it was very traumatic. But, remember I said I'm glad my Pindi told me all those stories, because I was aware that even though I was not exactly sure what these people were going to do to me, I could sense something fishy going on. I could protect myself. That too, somebody so shy as me and quiet as me. I'm very proud of myself for protecting myself. So that's happened, what happened in there. So I'm way over time, but yeah, a lot of lessons from these incidents, right? Number one, please learn how to say no. There are lots of times in your life where you have to say no to protect yourself, because it's the right thing to do, to stand up for somebody else, to stand up for yourself, to do the right thing, to be brave. You have to learn to say no. There's a lot of people out there, if they sense that you don't know how to say no, they will take advantage of you. That has happened to me many times in the past. And secondly, be aware, make, if you have children of your own, make them aware that there are bad people out there and things like this can happen. It takes is like, 5 minutes of being away from your parents' eyes, and it could come from any quarter. But I survived, and here I am. Nothing untoward happened, but that's because of my quick thinking. So I'll close here, and next time I'll come back with 10.5, I think. Okay.